All of us at Race Pro Weekly were saddened by the news of the incident Saturday night at the Canandaigua Motorsports Park that took the life of Kevin Ward Jr. We dedicate this episode to him and offer our deepest heartfelt sympathy to his parents, Kevin Sr. and Pamela, his family, friends, and anyone who has been affected by this awful tragedy. Welcome to another edition of Race Pro Weekly. I'm your host, Mike Warren. With just 4 weeks left at Albany-Saratoga, Brett Hearn still has a commanding lead over the rest of the field in the point standings. Would it be time for him to put another notch in his belt? Matt Depew and Brian Gleason would lead the field to the green in the modified feature at the Albany-Saratoga Speedway. As in the early going in this one, Depew would lead Brian Gleason trying to make a move on the outside lane for the race lead, but he couldn't do it in the early going. Don Rocca running into number 3 spot, holding off Chris Busta. Elmo Reckner was the car on the move early in the event. He would slide up into the top 5 looking for position, and Mark Keselowski with a fast hot rod underneath him as well, as he would look to go underneath Ronnie Johnson. First caution will come out as Brian Gleason would have a nasty push on the race car going up into turn number 1 and 2. Tough handles for him throughout the entire season. Then off of the restart, Don Rocca would find the spot he needed as he would move to the outside and take the race lead away from Depew. Peter Britton and Brett Hearn would be on the move in the 14 and the 20, but when Chris Busta slides up in front, impeding the progress of Britton, it's going to be Hearn moving to the inside, and he would take a much-needed spot away. Hearn would move up into the number 3 spot, but Elmo Reckner trying to slide in for the race lead on Don Rocca, misses a little bit and leaves the opening for Brett Hearn as he would slide to the inside and take the number 2 spot away. It wouldn't be long till Brett Hearn would set his sights on Rocca as he would look to carry some momentum on the outside. That time, Rocca would shut the door through turn number 3 and 4, but the next time around, Hearn would use the outside lane to his advantage, and he would take the race lead once again. Tremont would move in front of Reckner to get into the top 5, but Brett Hearn, once again for the 8th time, grabs the win. Brett Hearn picks up the feature event victory. Peter Britton would come home in 2nd, Don Rocca 3rd, Kenny Tremont 4th, and Ronnie Johnson would round out the top 5. Sean Pangman would lead the field to the green at the modified feature up at the Ridge. Him and Bobby Vetter would be on the front row. Stuart Friesen in the number 11A on the move early as you see him go to the inside of Craig Hansen for position. Then he'd move underneath and try to get by the 9 of Jim Becker as well as they head down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Bobby Varrett and Craig Hansen on the move as you see them go by Josh Hohenforce. Friesen already up into the top 5, moving to the inside of Jamike Soul for 3rd. Then he'd get caught on the inside berm, lose a couple spots as he would have to regroup and try to go back at it once again. Sean Pangman would continue to lead this one. Willie Decker and Friesen would be on the move. Friesen would then move to the inside of Vetter as he would be back in the top 5, and then to the inside of Sean Pangman. He would take the race lead away. Stuart Friesen was your new race leader. Barron would be on the move as you see him get by Jamike Soul, and then Craig Hansen tries to slide up and loops it as Varrett and Hohenforce catch a little bit of it as well. Jamike Soul up in there along with the 21 of Corey Wilder. Off the restart, that would put Willie Decker on the back bumper of Stuart Friesen as he would tiptoe across the top side. Varron would battle his way back around Hansen, get back into the top 5 as well, but this was all behind Stuart Friesen as he picks up the win at the Ridge. The Canadian sensation grabbing his first win of the season up on the hill. Willie Decker would finish in 2nd. Bobby Varron rebounding for 3rd. Bobby Vetter coming home in 4th, and Craig Hansen would round out the top 5. Andy Bacchetti would lead the field to the green in the main event of the evening, the modified feature at the Lebanon Valley Speedway, as he would take the early lead, and what a shot of speed down the back straightaway as the cars gear up for their feature event. Brett Hearn will be on the move early as he'd make the inside move on the 74 of J.R. Hefner to try to take the position. And Donnie Carell is still looking for win number 4 on the 2014 season. He'd make his way up through the field in the early going. Brett Hearn wasting no time as he tried to shave some points off the lead by J.R. Hefner as he'd go to the inside and take a couple positions away. J.R. Hefner would follow by getting by Colby Schroeder as they headed down the back straightaway. Donnie Carellis would be on the move. He'd pull into the number 3 spot, as right behind him would be Brett Hearn moving into spot number 4. Meanwhile, Kyle Armstrong would get up into the turn 3 and 4 wall, and somehow, someway, nobody got him. Off the restart, Donnie Carellis would push to the inside of Kenny Tremont. He would take the number 2 spot away by putting the electric slide job on him as they come down the front straightaway. Meanwhile, Hearn would try to battle back as he would go to the inside. He would take the number 3 spot away, making J.R. Hefner make the next move. Hearn would do whatever he could to get by the 57 of Donnie Corellis. Meanwhile, Hefner would get by Tremont, but this was all behind the Wild Child as he grabs a much-needed win at the Valley. Andy Bacchetti will grab the victory. Donnie Corellis would finish in second. Brett Hearn third, J.R. Hefner fourth, and Kenny Tremont would round out the top 5. There's only one place in the Capital Region for you to get the full racing action. Stop down at the Bobco video booth at the track or call 518-399-0937. Bobco Racing Video, the next best thing to being there. Throughout the season at the Fonda Speedway, Bobby Varon and Stuart Friesen have been the top 2 in the point standings almost the entire duration. However, a battle between the two Titans has yet to ensue on the racetrack. Would this week be the week? Ed Harris would be your pole sitter at the modified feature at the Fonda Speedway as he would lead in the early going until A.J. Romano would move on the outside of him to take the race lead as he piloted through turn number 3 and 4. A couple cars on the move, the 1J and the 1F of Bobby Varon and Stuart Friesen as they go by C.G. Maury. A little bit of close quarter racing midway through the pack, but back towards the front. A bid for the lead was about to ensue as it would be the 21J of Jeff Trombley trying to make a move on the outside lane. He would go around the outside of A.J. Romano and he would be your new race leader. And very shortly after that, Bobby Varon would make a move to the inside of A.J. Romano and he'd take the number 2 spot away and set his sights on race leader Trombley. Wouldn't take Varon very long as he would go to the outside lane and he would be your new race leader. You would think it'd just be over, just like that, right? Nope. Here comes Stuart Friesen moving to the inside lane, and now he's going to put on a show with the 1J of Bobby Varon. He'd take the race lead and slide in front of him, but then here comes Varon battling back on the inside lane. He'll slide up in front of Friesen off of turn number 3 and 4 and get the lead right back. Friesen would battle back to the outside lane, and they would come down the front straightaway, wheel to wheel, door to door, and at the line that time it would be Bobby Varon. However, Stewie wasn't done yet. He'd move to the outside in the 1F machine and take that spot away. Varon tried to battle back once again, but as they come off a corner number 1 and 2, Friesen would get the momentum he needed to take the lead outright and lead him to another victory at the Track of Champions. Stuart Friesen picks up the win. Bobby Varon coming home second. A.J. Romano third. Jeremy Wilder fourth. And Darwin Green would round out the top 5. Elliot Lucier would be your pole sitter for the 25-lap Sportsman feature at Albany-Saratoga. John Proctor would take the early lead in the event as the big field of Sportsman would get started. Derek McGrew would be on the move early. You see him going underneath the 88 Junior of Olden Dwyer. A lot of slicing and dicing. Last week's winner, Joey Scarborough, getting in there trying to get back towards the front. 3-car battle at the front of the field. John Proctor would be your race leader, but Tim Hartman Jr. in his final race of the 2014 season before going back to college would turn the wick up on the outside lane, and he would take the race lead away. Proctor would do his best to try to hold off Jake Scarborough and the 26 of Derek McGrew, and then a caution would come out as pole sitter Lucier and the 09 of Cleveland would come together on the back straightaway. The restart would put the heavy hitters in the Sportsman division on Hartman's back bumper. As we move towards the closing stage, is Jeremy Pitts and Cody Blue, your top 2 in the point standings, trying to get towards the front. Hunter Bates also on the move as he's trying to collect some much-needed points as well, but it would all be behind Tim Hartman for win number 3 on the season. Tim Hartman Jr. grabbing the win, Derek McGrew coming home second, Cody Blue third, Jeremy Pitts fourth, and Hunter Bates would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night in the Limited Sportsman, it would be Anthony Alger, Bernie Companion grabbing the win in the Pro Stocks, Randy Miller with another one in the Street Stocks, and the 4-cylinder winners in the Single Cam, Dan Older, and the Dual Cam, Steve Ryan once again. This past weekend was the Jimmy Langenbach Memorial Race for the Pro Stocks as the Speedway honored one of my all-time favorite drivers. It would be Daniel Sanchez taking the green flag for this 25-lap Pro Stocks feature event. In the early going, it would be Sanchez the race leader, but the heavy hitters were on the move. Chuck Towsley and the 143 of Rob Yetman there, and also the 317 of Frank Twing. Twing would get by Ruthier for the number 2 spot and then try to slide underneath the 463 of Sanchez for the race lead as they would come off a turn number 2. As they make their way through 3 and 4, Ruthier will slide up in front of Yetman. Twing going to try to battle back on the inside. He keep that number 2 spot for the time being, allowing the 463 to get away. Meanwhile, Rob Yetman and Twing would then put on a side-by-side battle for the number 2 spot, with Yetman getting the advantage, and then Yetman would try to go for the race lead on the inside of Daniel Sanchez. Yetman would slide right up in front of the 463 machine, but then Sanchez would come back, and don't look now, Frank Twing on the outside lane, making it a 3-wide battle going up into turn number 1 and 2. Sanchez would slide up and make contact with the 143 machine. Twing with the right move goes to the inside and takes the race lead away. Sanchez would hold off Yetman for the number 2 spot as Frank Twing would continue to sit out in front all by himself as he would pick up the win in the Jimmy Langenbach Memorial. The Wild Twing, Frank Twing would grab the victory. Daniel Sanchez coming home second, Rob Yetman third, John Ruthier fourth, and Chad Arsenal would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night in the 358 Modifieds, it would be Tyler Dipple. Pure Stock 1 will go to Chris Streeter. Pure Stock 2 to Jason Meltz. Pure Stock 3 to Jeff Meltz Jr. Jim Williams picking up the win in the 4-cylinder single cam, and Kenny Stager getting the win in the dual cam feature event. Performance, quality, service. That's DMC Racing Products. Hundreds of name brand parts, competitive prices. That's DMC. DMC Racing Products, race to win. Sportsman feature action would see Connor Cleveland picking up his first career victory in the 09 machine in the Sportsman. We move now to the Pro Stock feature event where it would be Walt Brownell leading the field to the green. In the 20-lap Pro Stock feature event at the Fonda Speedway, Nick Stone will be up into the top 5 early in this one as you move into number 4 spot by getting by Mark Sullivan, then go to work on the 324 of Jason Casey. He move into spot number 2, and it would not be long before he would get to the front as a lot of cars making their way up, including Kenny Gates and Chucky Domblewski. Meanwhile, the race for the lead, once again, Stone powered to the outside, and he would be your new race leader as we would head towards the closing stages. Gates and Domblewski going to pull in towards the top 5 here as we continue to race through this feature event. And now they would try to split the 27 of Nick Stone as they go 3 wide down the back straightaway, with Kenny Gates getting the advantage on the inside lane. Brownell will try to battle back on Domblewski for spot number 3. However, Domblewski would get the spot back. Meanwhile, at the front, Kenny Gates would be your feature event winner in the Pro Stocks. Gates would grab the win. Nick Stone coming home second. Chucky Domblewski third. Walt Brownell fourth. And Pete Broderson would round out your top 5. Other winners on the night in the Sportsman, it would be Connor Cleveland, as previously mentioned. Street Stocks would go to Jason Samaroff. And Kenny Hollenbeck would take home the win in the 4 cylinders. Happy Harry Schaefer and Lottie Hoyenga on the front row for the Sportsman feature at Glen Ridge as Schaefer would take the early lead in this one. Brian Pesolano would be on the move in the 24 machine. The Dodson Construction entries, he'd move to the number 3 spot, getting by Joslin. Curtis Hohenscheld be on the move as well as he go underneath Mark Mortensen for position. And don't look now, there's a flying squirrel coming in the picture as he would make his way up towards the top 5. Meanwhile, the lead for Schaefer would be for a short time as Pesolano would slide underneath him to take the number 1 spot away. Dave Constantino right behind him trying to take the number 2 spot, and he would grab that from Schaefer in the 124 machine. Meanwhile, Rocky Warner running hard, trying to get into the top 5 past Mark Mortensen and the one of Schaefer. He would continue to go to work on Schaefer, but all behind Pesolano as he'd pick up the win. Brian Pesolano would be your feature event winner. Dave Constantino coming home second. Rocky Warner third. Harry Schaefer fourth. And Ivan Joslin would finish in 5th. Other winners on the night in the Pro Stocks. Nick Stone with another one. 4 cylinders would go to Pete Vila. And Empire Lightning Sprints feature event would go to Phil Bissett. The Choices 301 program takes a multifaceted approach aimed at educating the public about the realities and dangers of what can happen when bad decisions are made inside a motor vehicle. Don't hesitate to designate.
First, we didn't see you at the beginning of the 2014 season. What made you decide to come back racing?
Well, I absolutely have to thank Central Deli and Catering for that. We had no intentions of being able to race the 2014 season. Just more of a financial thing. The car last year, unfortunately, just wasn't getting the job done. So they came through, as they always do, thanks to Jim and Mary Hopper. We got the car built, a little late start to the season, but we're here, and we're finally handicapped. We're going to try to go after the win tonight.
How different has it been missing a half a season?
You know, I thought in the beginning of the year that I wouldn't be able to even listen to it, hear it. I wouldn't know what to do with myself on a Friday night. Of course, being in the Hyco fabrication stables, cars come in and out day after day, and you basically, if you're an alcoholic, they'd be shoving vodka in your face every day. But we did all right. We made it through, and then all of a sudden, here comes the sponsor. I missed it, but I did better than I thought I would. But when he wanted to go back racing, I jumped right on it. It's in your blood. It's like a disease, you know.
You've won in every division except the modified so far. Is that frustrating as a driver?
Very much so. That's probably the #1 reason why we decided to go back at it for this season. It's just, you want to shake that monkey off your back. You really want to try to get that win. Honestly, I mean, if we got the win, it wouldn't make us want to just quit and hang it up because of that, but it's so huge. And yeah, our success in the previous divisions was awesome. We had so much fun doing it, and we were successful. But now we kind of feel like we're in an unbelievable class of field here. I mean, if you win at Albany-Saratoga on a Friday night, you know you've clearly done something right. You have a good team, you have a good car. We have a great team, we have a lot of dedicated guys, but we don't quite have the budget that some of those guys do. And, you know, being a little bit of an underdog now, a win would be absolutely huge for us.
Talking about your guys, seems to have the same guys that you've had for years and years. Why is that? Why do you think these guys are with you for this long?
Well, I can't say that they're the sharpest tools in the shed for sticking it out for this one. They're great guys. They're mostly longtime friends of mine since growing up. Next door neighbor where we grew up. Just great guys that are dedicated and are willing to go the extra mile. For example, on a Friday night when we get back, knowing that no one really has the time on a weekend, it's midnight and we're getting the pressure washer out to make sure the car gets clean. It's just the dedication they have year in and year out. They're always there for me. So we hope that I can give them something back. After all this, I want to try to get a win, not just for me, but for the sponsors, for the people that help it make it happen. And quite honestly, that'll be a nice high for a couple of weeks.
It's now time for this week's NISCA Performer of the Week. With his win in the Jimmy Langenbach Memorial Race and picking up the Hard Charger Award, this week's recipient is Frank Twing. Twing is now eligible for the Performer of the Year award at the end of the season. That's all for this week's show. For the latest news, results, and photos, check out Race Pro Weekly online, www.raceproweekly.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So for myself, Matt Knowles, Fast Eddie, Scott Morlock, Amber Chalmers, Dave Del Sandro, and everyone that helps put Race Pro Weekly together, thank you for watching this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.